I just started training for ads in Jan of 2020. So 2 months before kind of the world shut down and everyone suddenly wanted to get online. So I was quite lucky. I off the bat started working with some really, really amazing course creators, even including one who's been with me basically since the start, still is with me, where we used to spend 1K in ad spend for a nice little launch. And now we're spending like 20K, 25K per launch and having 90K launches.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the podcast. I'm here with Hollie Lowe's from Hollie and Company. She's an absolute beast when it comes to all things marketing, all things ads with online courses. She's been working on these for 3, 4, 5 years now. We'll get into it. 4 in the middle, perfectly, just to be safe. She's been doing it for ages. She has her own courses as well, and I'm really excited to talk all things ads, all things marketing, generating sales for online courses, because Hollie has done it for years now. She's an absolute weapon. So Hollie, welcome to the podcast. Great to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
Cool. So I guess before we jump into ads, I guess I'd love to hear a little bit about yourself, the last kind of like 4 years, how you got into online courses and marketing, the hero's journey and what you're doing now in terms of, e-learning and courses and ads.
Yeah. So I was very lucky for timing. I was a virtual assistant for, I don't know, a long time, a good few years before I was an ad manager. And I just started training for ads in Jan of 2020. So 2 months before kind of the world shut down and everyone suddenly wanted to get online. So when I was ready to launch my services, get people butts and seats for running ads, suddenly everyone was trying to pivot to be online and have their own courses, and brick and mortars trying to get
Wow.
online, things like that. So I was quite lucky. I off the bat started working with some really, really amazing course creators, even including one who's been with me basically since the start, still is with me, where we used to spend 1K in ad spend for a nice little launch. And now we're spending like 20K, 25K per launch and having 90K launches.
So in terms of kind of your business and kind of structure set up right now, you've got the kind of like the agency or the coaching business, you've got the actual courses themselves. So tell us kind of, what you're doing right now.
Yeah, so I have two kind of sides to my business. One is done for you ads, that is Facebook and Instagram ads, soon to be adding Google as well. On that side, I'm essentially an ad strategist opposed to an ad manager. What that means is, opposed to an ad manager just kind of doing the ads and walking away, I instead live and breathe that strategy. What that means is ads are really only as good as your funnel, your offer, and how you sell. So I audit my clients' webinar PowerPoints, their sales pages, emails, everything that could give them a better opportunity for conversions. So, for example, after each launch meaning like a webinar leading into the sale in like a month period, maybe 2 week period, we do a debrief. The debrief is not just the ads, but how did you convert? If you converted at 1%, we obviously could do better. So we go over all the numbers, emails, webinar, show up rate. The list goes on to get the highest conversion number. Because, yeah, you know what? Honestly, I almost always get an amazing number with ads. I'm great at what I do, honestly. But I can only do so much if you're converting at 1%. If we're hitting at 2 to 3%,
Totally.
that's when we start kicking butts and making case studies. So that's one side. The second side is I have my own courses. Those courses are kind of a mix. My pillar course is I teach people how to become ad managers themselves. So I teach ad managers to become essentially ad strategists, where they go through a 6 week program and I teach them every single aspect of ads. And we will soon in the new year be adding a DIY ads course for my fellow course creators who are not ready to take on Done For You.
Nice. All right, cool. Well, if you're listening to this right now, that's in the bio, by the way. Okay, cool. So you've got the agency, you've got the courses yourself. Tell us around some of the product that you're working on right now that you're super excited about kind of at the agency, or even in the last few years, kind of what type of products, type of instructors, price points, all that stuff.
So I've had a ton of different types of clients. I've had a lot of fun with one of my top clients. I'll just call her Elle for now. But Elle has her own courses in singing, as well as how to sing and play the frame drum at the same time. What I love is she's my favorite case study. We've been together. She started with me September of 2020. So she's basically one of my OG clients. And what we did is the biggest thing I use for her and word for her is intentional. We didn't just be like, hey, we're starting. Let's spend 10K before we know this works. We spent 1K. We had the amazing number of 16K return, which is very unheard of. I wish that was every day, but still very
Oh,
fantastic number.
if I was every day, yeah,
Right? I
yeah,
do it
yeah.
every day then. And we had amazing success, meaning now we hit a point where we very intentionally slowly upped the spend. We didn't just go from 1K to 25K one day. Next month, next launch 2K, then 3K, and the list went up until we slowly worked up to 25K launches. Now we launch a few times per year, and we have anywhere from 45K to 92K launches, which is amazing. And that intentional growth is everything. So that's one. One more is I have another L client, and she's a DIY art client. She is so amazing. She's a fellow traveler like me, mixed between the US and living in Greece sometimes. And she's just an amazing client as a whole. They both are. And Lisa is L. Lisa started with us, right? There's Lisa. You'd see her on my website, anyways, for my results. But Lisa started with me 2 years ago as of Jan about, and she came to me originally just like she had a list, she was happy, she was making sales, but it wasn't really intentional. We started with just kind of a beta launch. So a beta launch meaning we've never tested this launch. Let's see how it goes. We don't know the numbers till we know them. Had a good kind of small scale launch where we just got, I think, 4x return on ad spend, which is an amazing number too. And then she just wanted to kinda chill. She wanted to just go on Evergreen and hang out in Greece and sometimes do retreats, so we started Evergreen webinar ads. Far more about growing the list than the sales itself, and she went from, I think, about 800 emails in Jan 2022. This is November 2023, and we have over 43,000 emails we've added since I've last checked. So and that was 86 cents per email for the average.
Nice. Wow. So do you mainly focus on like launches with clients? Is that kind of, what you recommend, or it's a bit of like launches and evergreen?
It's kind of everything. So my biggest 2 kind of pillars is one way or another you're gonna have to sell, so evergreen or launch, and 2 is making sure that you understand that email list is everything. Like, if you want to take a break and not do a launch and just do a Black Friday sale, you could take advantage of that without having this big event, right? So those are the 2 pillars. I do evergreen, but I do personally think at the very least, maybe doing a launch a year that's live because it does have the biggest impact. Conversions are higher, momentum's higher for you and your students because you're getting to interact live with them. So I am a live launch lover, but I do also agree that you can't do 5 years in, you're not going to want to do live launches every month. You're going to have kind of a mix of everything.
Yeah. Unless you're a psycho and you love it.
Yeah, I mean, I wish
Which
I
I'm sure
could.
some
I
people are
did like
like that.
5
Yeah.
launches my first
Yeah.
year and
Okay. Okay. Maybe you are one of the psycho. Five does sound like a lot.
I
Okay.
know.
Cool. So let's jump into this launch model. So if someone's starting out, let's say they don't have an audience, they don't have an online course, right? They don't even have an offer, and they're gonna come in and be like, Holly, help me. I need you to make me bank, right? How would you kind of think about planning this launch, ad spend, funnel structure, timing? Kind of how would you? Yeah, it's a big question, obviously,
Yeah,
but
no, I mean, it's kind of could go 2 ways. And the biggest thing with me is managing expectations. And if you haven't proven you're offered yet, you haven't created an email list, you need to be realistic that we don't know if you sell yet and how you sell. So there's kind of 2 ways to go about it. One is you could either come back to me later and you just prove your offer organically, even if it's just a month, 2 months, and seeing that people want to purchase it. I usually suggest like a beta launch, meaning not a live launch with ads, but kind of just selling your offer in a beta scale, discounted rate, one time only, then go full price when you go live. I've done that with my own ads course where I just sold it for 500. It's now 1500. Sold a bunch. It put it towards my ad spend and I went live. The other option is just being realistic that we won't know your numbers yet and how you convert. So, my first thought is if you were coming to me and you're 100% undone for you ads, you want to do it, you want to launch and get momentum off the bat. I would say a build up period with a email list growth kind of campaign. So, some sort of PDF, free mini training that's not trying to sell anything yet, just giving value and growing your list. How that really helps on the ad side is let's say I have a client. Client A is wanting to launch 3 months from now. I'm saying for month 1 and month 2, we test out your lead magnets and we also test your audiences. So, one, we have to see if your lead magnets are interesting enough to them, that we're having the right kind of titles and information, and that the audience are performing correctly. Once I get a hang of this, it allows me to test on a smaller scale. That smaller scale meaning it's less of a commitment as someone just signs up for like a lead magnet opposed to a live sign up for a webinar. So those people are going to instead sign up lower cost. I'm learning on a lower cost scale of which audience that's cold converts for you. And then I could really ramp up that cold audience when we go to the launch, as well as you'll have a warm audience to pull from for those ads when the time comes.
Interesting, interesting. That's really smart because sometimes, as you know, like if you launch huge, $1,000, $1,500 products, like you have to spend, sometimes more than that, like
Mhm.
$2,000 to figure it out, and it's like, $700, $800 spent. You're looking back without sale. You're not learning much because there's no conversions with leads. If you're getting them for $1 after 7 days, it's like, okay, the angle of XYZ and this lead magnet works better, and then you can kind of double down on that for the
Yeah, you're
launch,
kind of
right?
just not doing a
Mm,
shot in the dark. Like, if we just went straight with a live launch, yeah, we could do that, but we need to be realistic. The cost per lead will be higher because I won't know who's converting and for what reason. Also, if you do your first live launch, never be that person who's like, I've never done this offer before. I don't know if it works. I'm going to spend 15K this month. Hold your horses. You're better off spending 2 to 3K in one launch. I always tell my clients it's not about making money that first launch. It's about learning. And if we learn those numbers, we'll do what we did with the first client I told you about, where we learn those numbers. We can work backwards the next time and kind of reverse engineer the numbers you actually want and the profitability in there for the next launch.
got it, got it. So if someone's starting out, right, they explain to me a little bit deeper. When you say testing lead magnets, what does that actually look like? Is it just like Facebook ad to an on Facebook lead form? Is it like Facebook ad to a landing page, long form with a form, and then like a thank you page? Are we selling anything at this stage, or is it literally just getting leads? Here's something for free.
Just getting leads, and giving value. So we'll do it on Facebook lead form. The cost, I've tested it, like just doing, on the landing page, the cost difference, I think I cut it down from $5 to 50 cents one
Oh
time by
wow,
just that one
yeah.
difference.
Usually, yeah, yeah.
Yes, lead form is
Damn.
everything. I know a lot of people want landing pages, but unless like you truly can't have it on the lead form, do the lead form. um, and testing it is also like the style. So I had another client where we had a lead magnet. She wanted to do a quiz, but quizzes, while they could bring really good quality, they could be very costly to have a finishing quiz kind of cost per lead on that. So I told her, hey, we could do the quiz, but have a backup lead magnet ready, just like a PDF, same kind of title, just put it into a checklist. It immediately cost $25 a lead for the lead magnet, which she's B2B, so it's okay if it's the right quality. But we immediately were like, no, let's test out the checklist. It immediately went down to $5 a lead, which is hard to get for business to business. So that's an 80% difference by that one simple change.
So let's walk through this. So someone's launching a course. They have on Facebook lead forms. They're testing different lead magnets and different ads. We'll go into the creative in a second. I just want to get the kind of big picture of the launch. They're running ads for like a week, 2 weeks. They're figuring out which angles kind of working better or which, lead magnets working better. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like as you lead up to actually launching the product, there's like an open day and a close day. And via retargeting ads and via also email of the leads, you're kind of opening people who are hopefully educated and know you through the PDF, right?
Yes. So you kind of
Okay.
you've warmed them up to the lead magnet.
Mhm,
You're not selling at
mhm,
this point. If you want, you could, maybe throw a little mini, like, I don't know, $17 offer, but just it's all a lot more about value at this stage. And then when the
mhm,
launch happens, usually a 7 to day open period of trying to get them to sign up for the
mhm,
webinar, and then five to
mhm.
seven days of open cart selling your program.
Cool. So in different phases, it's kind of like a lead magnet, and then there's like open cart webinar, and then maybe there's close. Speak to me around kind of if you were building. Well, yeah. First of all, go a little bit deeper into what this kind of webinar and kind of launch sequence looks like, high level in terms of kind of timelines and what the funnels look like, and then maybe we can jump into some to some webinar stuff where we can kind of chat about how to get this webinar live
Yeah.
for
So when you
people.
say that
Cool.
kind of high level overview, are you talking about the launch
Mhm.
specifically or just as a whole?
Exactly. The launch. Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
launch, I always just say it's about a month period. So for example, if you're working with me, let's just pretend you're doing it January 1st, we start together. That doesn't mean the ads are live or anything like that. We would do a kickoff call where we kind of just reiterate everything. So what is our strategy going forward? I would have reviewed everything, given any feedback we have at this point. Most ad managers will take about a week. We're a week to have absolutely everything set up within that week. So, creating the creatives, So the graphics, copy, audience research, to the point where within a week, the final day, so let's say Jan 7th or 8th, we send those ads to the client to approve. Once you approve, then we could kind of just absolutely confirm the webinar date as well. Let's just say we already had everything ready. You would then get the ads live specifically for the free webinar onto a Facebook lead form. I do 7 to 10 days, never more than 10 days. I've tested this time and time again. People don't remember after the fact. Like, we got to keep in mind the short attention spans of people who are going through their feed. They're going to get a ton of webinars. There's going to be a new shiny object. You got to get them when that shiny object is still shiny to them. So 7 to 10 days, it's okay if it's 5 to 10 day period, but nothing more, just to the free webinar. Then let's say you had that free webinar. From that free webinar, you want to have a 5 to 7 day open cart period. This is when you retarget them to the sale. So if you have a course, we would be sending them only your warm audience, retargeting to purchase that course. From there, then the launch finishes after that, and we do a debrief period where I get all the numbers from my clients, see what your conversion rate is, and see where we could do better.
Cool. Love it. Okay. So just so I get this clear, it's lead magnets, 7 day kind of like webinar, and then closing cart. And then basically it's webinar. Few days after the webinar, there's like an open cart where people can purchase for the discounted price, and then it closes off. And in the meantime, you're sending emails, and then you're sending ads plus the webinar, all to that kind of like sales page to get
So
the
that's like
purchase,
kind of
correct?
the ad perspective, but on the back end,
Mhm.
there's going to be a lot more going on. So on the course creators end, you're going to need to have a confirmation email set up. Confirmation meaning when they sign up to the webinar, they should immediately be emailed a link, any sort of details, kind of get them excited. There's an optional kind of warm up email kind of before the webinar, just getting them excited. And then non negotiable. I know there's so many people that are like, oh, I feel like I'm spamming my list. People are on your email list for a reason. They want to buy. And if they unsubscribe, they're just making space for someone who does want to purchase. So, in that, let's say you do have a 7 day open cart. Usually, you should have 7 to 10 emails through that period trying to sell to them. Not just like, hey, buy, hey, buy, hey, buy. Give them value. Tell them about your story, your clients, your like students' stories, FAQs. The list kind of goes on, but people purchase from emails. And if you don't have emails in conjunction with ads, I can guarantee your conversion rate is going to be pretty low.
Okay, cool. And I'm curious. So there's the ads, the emails, there's the webinars as well. What price point usually are these courses? Do you use this webinar model for kind of like all price points, all types of courses, or yeah, because obviously there's like lower ticket and there's higher ticket 10K courses. So does this model, do you use it for all of them or?
I think it really varies on what they're teaching, what the price point is. Everyone, like, yes, you could just do webinar and retargeting, but everyone's going to have kind of a different method. I've done this for a lot of different price points, even like the small price points, like $300 to $500 programs, and as high as like 7.7K programs. I find if it's higher, like 5K plus, you do need to have a better kind of, it needs to be high touch basically. So that would include probably more than one webinar, and probably the call to action won't be to purchase, but to book a call to see if you work together. So that would be different because especially like, I mean, wouldn't we all like to just do a webinar for an hour, hop off and make 20K sales in like seconds? I would do that every single day. I would be the psycho launching every day, right? It needs to be super high touch
I'd do it in
ultimately.
different countries. I would learn like 8 different
Yeah,
languages and just kind of stay up and do it. Brazil,
right.
Germany. Yeah,
I do
yeah, yeah.
absolutely everywhere. I've learned every language
Yeah.
possible to make that work.
Mhm.
So, yeah, if it's like higher ticket, like I've had 7.7K one work, but it was more like it was a three-part series and it took warming up. Like they usually did other webinars and worked their way in,
Yeah,
so they
and that
weren't
was a
like that
call, right?
immediate. Yeah.
Did you sell it on a call? Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
That's
So,
cool.
if you
Yeah.
you do have to also think about who your audience is, what you're teaching them. Like, let's say it's like postpartum moms. They don't have time to do a call with you. They want to book the course and they want to be done. And it also needs to be affordable to a degree because they just took on one of the biggest costs of their life by having a little one, right? So, knowing your audience, it's the same thing with open and close cart for a course. Is it okay to close your cart if they may not be new moms 6 months from now when you open carts. So you have to be realistic of every single program is gonna have a tailored piece to it, how you sell it, and if you
Mhm.
open close it.
Yeah, and I would even say on that as well, on the kind of like high ticket versus low ticket, or like call versus straight to purchase, is like when we do, VSLs or webinars, we actually end up recording two CTAs, because like everything leading up to like the CTA is the same. It's a course, support, whatever it is, and then we just split two variations. Whereas like right now, well actually we do eight. So we do one for like a call funnel, and then we just split test. And you can get it today for a one-time price of $97. And you can get it today for a one-time price of $197, and kind of test it all out. And it's like, we try to do that automated webinar. And if it works and it's profitable, that's great. We keep changing prices. And if it doesn't end up working, that's like, okay, let's just flip it to call, increase the price a little bit. And then kind of through those calls, we can understand maybe how to message it better, how to sell it better on Evergreen. So having that kind of one-to-one touch points, yes, you can charge more, but you can learn like a lot faster as well than kind of
Yeah,
a
absolutely. And
webinar.
calls, you get
So
to know them even more. Like it does, there might be someone who does a call for you now, gets a little stressed about the price point, but then they come back in 6 months because they've got to know you, they've been thinking about it, and they know it's time.
yeah, totally. Okay, cool. And is this the model that you're doing with that, like, is it a language course?
Oh, sorry, I had the painting
L.
course and
Yeah.
the singing course, singing and frame drum.
Singing course. Sorry. Yes, it's singing. Yeah. So
So they're kind of lower cost, so they're meaning more like 888 to about 177, I believe. Currently, she kind of changes it because sometimes she adds high touch aspects to it. So if it's the like the standard cost, like 888 to about 1200, that one we don't really need any sort of touch point for the call. It's they could just purchase right there. But when there's higher touch points, so maybe they want the premium one where there's one to one, she does offer kind of a call. It really just kind of depends on what the price point is. Where like singing, for example, you do have to push a little bit more, meaning a one-to-one call if you want to get premium. So a call leading into paying for that higher ticket package is different. Whereas, like, for example, so B2B to B2C is the best way to say it. B2C, usually they're gonna be less costly. So if you get pricey, you're definitely gonna have to have a higher touch point with that. B2B, it's pretty standard for a course to be 1500 and above. So it's not a must, but it's good to test once you get higher which method is best. Ultimately, everyone wants the like hardcore answer. There's no true answer until we know exactly what your course is, who your clients are, and every aspect of your business to see what converts best.
yeah, but for the singing course in particular, that one, you are doing kind of like lead ads at the start, then pushing to webinar, and then pushing to purchase. Is that the launch model that you're doing for this?
So her launch model now is just because she's had such a big list now. So we have, I think, like 25, 26,000 on her list. So she doesn't have to do lead magnets really. Her lead magnets are her webinar launches in her mind. So it's just the webinar leading into the sale.
And you're still running ads straight to the webinar, or you're doing it straight kind of like off the email list?
Straight to the webinar as well as emailing. So kind of working together. So when we do the webinar ads, it's still cold and look-alike and warm, and then emailing while you're doing it because of course they may not always see that email and check the ads.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you're allowed to do this. This might be crazy, but do you want to maybe like go in and show us some of the ads libraries for some of the best creative that you're running, or even tell us about
I could tell
the
you,
best
but I
ones?
don't think I could grab it right off the bat. My computer always
Yeah.
gets very slow when it happens. But I think I have some
Okay.
screenshots I've just took
Yeah.
like yesterday. So let me
Yeah, for sure. I'm
pull them
keen to look
out.
in, and I can
Honestly, the
narrate.
interesting part is a lot of people think the creative needs to be this wild production with
Mhm.
super wow
Yeah. Yeah.
factor and super long form content. Her ads, we've been testing. I don't know, we're about over 3 years into her ads and launches. A lot of it's rinse and repeat of the same style. It just like singing videos because people aren't even thinking about the webinar at this point. They're just amazed by her singing, and then they're like, oh, she teaches how to sing like that. Amazing. So a lot of her creative is super simple. It's like the best ones are usually just videos of her singing. We only, I think, this last launch. Let me see if I could get the screenshots out. The last launch, I think, out of the creatives we created, very few actually had writing on it. It was just parts of her singing because testing wise, they just want to hear her sing, and then they realize, oh, I could learn to do that too. It's really not this complex thing. Um, it's not perfection. Like almost all her videos are just like a selfie on iPhone and like singing, and it's not anything specific. It doesn't need to be this huge production, and it doesn't always have to be this big extravagant thing to get people to go onto the webinar. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think what actually I'll just do is I have on my website, I have a results section where I have screenshots of our very first launch together of what we did. And that shows you just how simple it was because this launch was when I was newer. So my creative wasn't as pretty as it is now. It was literally like a picture of her smiling and in like a part saying, learn the frame drum. So I'm just going to pull out that PDF now and I'll share my screen in just a moment for you.
Yeah, cool, cool, nice. All right, well, maybe we can go into some of the strategy stuff. So, if you're, running ads, this kind of webinar funnel, or even to get leads from an online course, and let's say someone comes to you, how do you think about the actual ad creative, right? So, like the copy, the images of the videos, what's going to get the cheapest cost per lead and the cheapest cost per purchase?
Yeah. So one is I check the creative that they've already used just in social media wise, not because they're gonna perform the same, but it's also good to see who's been interested in what, like where are the most likes and views coming from, right? Ultimately, we try and make more creative than the average person. So usually you'll use maybe 2 to 4, graphics slash videos versus 2 copy. We make 6 to 8. We don't use 6 to 8, but we wanna have kind of a mix of everything so that we could pull from it. So let's say we realize we put 3 graphics slash videos in and 2 copy, and we notice 2 of those graphic videos just aren't as well working as great. No problem. We pull and we add it right in. We don't really know until we test. So with this singing client, the when we first started, we tested an equal part of images and videos. So images were just like like a picture like this, and find out how I sing with the frame drum. And then some musical parts. And we noticed like the music video ones would just get so much engagement because even if they weren't doing the webinar, they were like, this is amazing. What a beautiful song, great singing. So the engagement would be through the roof. So when we tested a couple of launches, it just made more sense. So images we don't really use on the webinar side. When we use images with her, it'll be just the retargeting. So it'll still probably be more videos with one retargeting picture because they know what it is. But it is a testing game. So I've tested with other clients where videos actually didn't perform great with them. Pictures just worked and different styles and styles kind of depend. So, for example, if it's retargeting with a client, it's 30% for a short period of time. We would test 30% off in the picture and we would test $284 off in the picture and see which one would kind of land with people. So it's really a testing game, but realistically, she works in music. And people who want to learn music are visual and like auditory kind of learners. They're not going to be as interested in reading it.
Totally. Okay, cool. That's amazing. And quick, just like details question. When you're running these Facebook ads to the webinar, it's a webinar registration page, I assume, and you're optimizing for, like a registration. Is that correct?
So a lead form leading in just to fill in the lead form is the optimization. So lead generation campaign optimized for an instant form.
Got it. Got it. And then that's for a webinar sign up
Mhm.
too. So it's lead magnet and also webinar sign up.
Yes,
Is that
correct.
correct? Cool. And then is there anything, did you have any CTAs after the Facebook form that sends them, like if the webinar's not live, to go to it? Obviously email and
Mhm.
text you'll send to them, but yeah.
So we try and do on like the thank you page aspect of the
Mhm,
instant form.
mhm.
We always make sure that what they want, what they sign up for, is not on the thank you page because we have to train them to open their emails. So if it's a lead magnet, don't give them the download immediately on the thank you page because they're not trained to open your emails. So what you should be doing is having a
Interesting.
confirmation email with that. I've had it in the past where clients wanted it on the thank you page and it actually brought their email open rate down quite a bit.
Mhm.
So on the thank you page, it depends on what you're doing. So with that client, there's kind of standard FAQs of questions that they have, which is, do I need a frame drum? Where do I buy it? We answer the
Mhm.
questions on the thank you page, and then you always have to have a button at the thank you page of the instant form. You don't
Yeah.
have a choice.
Mhm.
So it's kind of a mix of if you want to learn even more about me, it could be follow me on Instagram. If it's like a lead magnet, oh, you want to know about my even better paid options? Go to my this is my courses page. Kind of
Cool.
varies, but on the thank you page, just make sure what they wanted, so the freebie, isn't on the thank you page because 'cause they're not opening your emails after that.
Interesting. Okay, cool. That's really interesting. There was so much there to think about. Let's say someone hasn't run ads before. How would you come up with the ad creative strategy? We kind of spoke about
Mhm.
going in and doing what's in the past. But let's say blank canvas. I'll give you a random course idea. Let me think. let's say it's just an ecom course, right? Kind of how to start an ecom business, and someone has, a new
Mhm.
way with ads and a new product style to kind of, help you start an e-commerce business from home. How would you think about, coming up with the creative and the messaging from scratch?
Yeah, so if they came to me, well, first I always give a Google Drive where I say just upload everything. Don't worry if it's too much. I'd rather have more choice than too little to work with. So off the bat, that part. When I hear ecom, my first thought is people are probably going to want a video. They're going to want to understand why you're better than all these ecom people. So I would suggest they make a video. Again, it doesn't need to be this big production. It could just be a selfie video. We don't personally edit the videos, as in meaning like we don't do all these big transitions, but we'll add the captions and obviously cut out any ums and things like that. So I would first get them to upload everything to the Google Drive just so I could kind of have a review of what their content even looks like. And I would give them a script for the ads. So not meaning I write the whole script, but kind of a structure. So a hook. Like how are you hooking them in? The first sentence needs to bring them in. A quick intro as to who you are, likely just a sentence, and 2 to 3 benefits of what your offer is. So hey, I'm having this free, I have this free PDF checklist of everything you need to set up your ecom business. If you want to put 2 to 3 benefits in and then call to action, sign up right here. Simple things like that, they go great. I also, you don't need this huge production. I've had amazing success with people just grabbing their phone and being like, hey, because people think that it's someone on their feed, right? So my first thought would be we have to test the videos and we have to test graphics. I'd like an equal amount with them for what they're teaching. And then after we do about a month of ads, I'll have more of an idea of video versus image. And then we could get more into specifics as the time go on. So meaning like, do we need to change the hook? Do we need to change the PDF slash lead magnet?
Cool. And do you have like different variations of the video creative and the images? And is it you testing different messaging, or are you testing kind of like different hooks or completely separate ads? Kind of what at this launch, what different variations of these ads are you testing?
I think when I started my journey a longer time ago, it used to be a lot of like testing short, medium, long form. After testing for years at the top of the funnel, so meaning they don't know you yet, you're gonna give them a lead magnet. Short form is king. I find long content. I have ADHD personally. When I go through my feed, if someone wants me to read an essay just to give an email, I'm out. Give me a hook, tell me a 3 bullet points of what it is, and call me to give the email. Done. You've got my email. So that used to be kind of the start of testing. I find now when it comes to creative and copy wise, if it's top of funnel, get to the point. Don't tell them your 3,000 year journey. You could do that in your webinar. Don't do it in your lead magnet, like to get them into the ad. Graphics and copy, honestly, it really varies per client. Again, I'm a really direct person and my ads kind of reflect that with my clients. So I have noticed recently since Facebook's kind of changed a little bit, if you notice on your feed now, opposed to it showing the whole ad post, it kind of shows you the first hook and then you could press see more. That kind of puts us all at a disadvantage. So I'm finding recently graphics that are very clear as to what it is. So here was your free masterclass. This is what the free masterclass is, work better because they may not even realize what it is if they don't press that see more section.
Yep, totally. And I feel like driving, a lot more specifically to the product, having it up front helps Facebook learn a lot better. If people
Mhm.
have to, like you said, read through a whole thing and click through to figure out if it's worth them, we're going to be
Yes.
driving junk traffic. If it's like, this is what it is, people either don't see it or they do see it, and then
You want it
Facebook
or
just
you don't,
shows
and you're
more.
done.
Exactly, totally. Okay, cool. And tell me around how are you selling this kind of art boxing? So maybe tell us around kind of some of the launches, any numbers you can tell us, and what strategy you're using to sell these. Because I'm actually
Mhm.
launching an at home kind of art
Oh, I love
uh
that.
learning businesses. So maybe we can chat about it afterwards. You can come and help us. But yeah, keen to hear what
Happily.
you guys are doing. Yeah.
Yeah, she could teach either beginner or you could be advanced in your journey. Her kind of pillar bits is like she could teach you how to turn your like kind of mediocre art into extraordinary art by making it more extract
Abstract.
abstract. Oh my gosh, my
Got
words.
it. Nice. Okay.
Mondays, but abstract in
Yeah.
that aspect of like they can make just like any sort of artist make this interesting. So a lot of the testing, we've had amazing numbers. We've had some amazing results with her. So what we've done is she has a few different offers. One is kind of like kind of landscape art class. So it's self-study. It's normally about I think $400, but if they do the webinar, they get it for 225. So there's kind of the selling point. And then the other one is she has an intensive where it's normally 947, but it's 747 if you do the webinar. And it's about to be a Black Friday sale. Additionally, she also had a membership, and we kind of go throughout the year because since she is evergreen, her list is gonna be used to her selling all the time, so I can't always just throw them that course all year long. Otherwise, we're just kind of like I feel like it gets a little bit stale at that point, so I constantly go through the list, see how they're converting, and we sometimes kinda change it up as far as what the offer is. Lisa's amazing in the aspect that I'll just be like, "Hey, Lisa, I think it's time we change offers." She's just like, "Okay. All right, thanks, Lisa." Like, Lisa just, like, trusts me wholeheartedly, and I'm so appreciative of that, and we check through those numbers, constantly to see, like, the conversion rate, things like that. When we're doing the creative, it kind of varies. I've the new test that we're doing right now, just started last week, it's performing great, is, the intensive is what we're currently selling. The webinar leading into the intensive, still doing great, but it's like $1.18 a lead. I know I could do better, so I'm trying to do better. So right now we're testing a new just refresher campaign because your audience is gonna be used to seeing it, so you gotta change it up. And that test now is where she's not in the image, so opposed to being Lisa at the forefront, we have a split of, I think, 4 creatives currently right now, 2 that are just, like, kind of stock, cool, painting pictures that are saying, "Hey, here's the 6 tips to being making extraordinary art," and then the other 2 have Lisa at the forefront of it, just to kinda test it up and change it, and now we've got the cost down to $1 a lead, so a good change, and that makes a difference. It's great for top of funnel. Middle of funnel, we put Lisa at the forefront because they should be knowing Lisa at this stage. It's really a lot of it's really simple with her ads, as in direct ads. Don't get into this big spiel. Just make it clear that you could help both advanced and beginner artists because that's probably their first question when they see that. Like, am I able to do this if I'm brand new? Or is this kind of below my experience if I'm advanced? So, kind of answering very quickly that we could help either of you, a direct kind of bullet points of what it is and a call to action. We just right now we're testing more the hook and even shorter form. So one is just a sentence, whereas the other one is kind of that breakdown of all the benefits.
Nice. With this product in particular, just so I'm clear, so we have a big email list, and you're launching kind of to the email list products multiple times throughout the year. Day to day on Evergreen, are we running ads to like an Evergreen webinar, or are you just collecting leads for the launches? Sorry, let me just
Yeah.
kind of understand, yeah, what you're doing
So
day
we're
to day.
doing so we try and focus only one offer at a time. We just don't want to overwhelm our audience with a million webinars and a million offers kind of thing. When we do that, we're having two campaigns going. One is a lead campaign leading them into just the webinar sign up. We have specific webinars for specific offers, so different lead-ins, and then retargeting them to the sale. So it's ongoing and just always going until we change to the next offer. She does have an email sequence, of course, so when they do sign up, because it's evergreen, people do tend to kinda just, like, save it, set it, forget it. We have in our emails reminding them, "Hey, this replay is ending soon," and we also give them a call to action to get a big discount code if they watch the full webinar.
Cool. Love it. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, on the topic of webinars, how kind of, obviously you're having some success with webinars. Do you do webinars for the clients yourself, or do you just help?
So I don't create, but I kind of structure. So if they've already created, I ask them to send me their PowerPoint slides. If they've already tested it, I ask them to send me the pitch or just the whole webinar realistically. So whilst I don't create it, I do go through the list of it. When my clients start with me, one of their onboarding documents is top tips for live launching and evergreen, which include what you should have your structure in your webinar. A lot of people think, just give the information, we're good to go, but honestly, you're gonna need, a PowerPoint at one point. If you're singing, obviously not during the singing, but at the kind of, the pitch point, because people are visual learners and you need to speak to those visual learners. When you're doing the webinar, kind of the structure of engagement, like, are you just talking at them for an hour, or are you asking questions, getting to know them, right? So I if they have not never created it, we have a discussion. So usually at this point, we've started the lead magnet ads and we know that maybe we're doing a launch in 1 to 2 months. I work with them by saying when you're making the webinar, you're giving them a bite of the cookie, but you're not giving them the whole cookie. Give them enough value that they feel satisfied with that value, but they really want the rest of the cookie, which is your course where you handhold them basically on everything they need to know, the systems, the strategy, things like that.
Yeah. And what does that flow usually look like? Like I'm sure it changes product to product, but if you're going to kind of, do a webinar from scratch,
Mhm.
how do you think about, intro and then the content and then the pitch?
Yeah, so off the top of my head, I'll just think of my own webinars. Usually you'll start like, my biggest thing is you want them to stay on. Yes, people will show up, but you don't want them to leave the second you start pitching, right? So I suggest some sort of giveaway. So at the start, be like, hey, tag me on Instagram, story, post, whatever. If you have a private account, make sure you DM me a screenshot of it. And then at the very end of this training, I'm going to give one $500 one-to-one training session with me. So that makes a huge difference. The stay on rate is very high, because people could just like there's going to be times where more times than not they want your information, they want to get out of there. But if they have the chance to just sit through your spiel, the odds of them actually purchasing is a lot higher because they're realizing the value you give. You also don't do the questions, like the big questions, until the very end after you've done your pitch, things like that. But I think the number one thing questions meaning, like, at the end, if they have questions about the training, like, the value, any questions really. So number 1 would be having that giveaway. Just make sure the giveaway isn't what you're selling because you're trying to get people to purchase. So give away something that's really valuable to them, like 30 minutes of your time, an hour of your time is not gonna take away from that sale, right? And then the next part would be structuring it kind of like a build up. Like, you want them to get to know you and resonate with you, but don't spend 45 minutes talking about yourself. People aren't as interested in you as they want as you think they are. They're interested in the value. They'll get interested in you when they get to know you, but you've just gotta assume that I think the best thing to think of is ultimately everyone's selfish when they're going into this space, and that's okay. I'm gonna be selfish going into this webinar because I want this value. Make it in a way that that story is a good lead, and, like, don't spend 10 seconds on your story. Do it in a way that you structure it so that they get to know you, they resonate with you, and you invoke an emotion. So one of my webinars for my own courses, with being an ad manager, is saying how I was this broke backpacker who would spend 6 months working like 100-hour weeks to save money just so I could go backpacking in Europe, where I'd stress about a $10 difference of a price point of food, to now, like, making amazing money, traveling the world, not really having to think about that. If I want a mojito, get the dang mojito. That kind of stuff, and that lead in resonates with a lot of people who go into my space. And then that's when I kinda tied into my story by being like, hey, these are the 5 things I did that got me from point A to point B. And then I start going through it and what that kind of value is. Make sure that ultimately your sales pitch and your intro is not longer than your actual value, because it is gonna start becoming a bit like basically the value should be juicy. It shouldn't be only about what you're selling and only about you. So spend at least 30 minutes teaching them some sort of valuable aspect. And last one, engagement. Again, the my superpower is my ADHD. I know when people lose attention and I try and catch them. So questions like, I got everyone to guess, how much do you think was spent on Facebook and Instagram ads last year? And it was something like 1.14 billion. And people had so much fun guessing it in the comment section.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. So it was 1.4 billion spent for the whole year.
I'd have to check that again. It was on Facebook. It has like an investor section where they tell you how much is spent within like a quarter in a year. And I believe is 1.14, but don't quote me on that. I would check that, but that's
Wow.
just a
Yeah,
rumor.
I thought it'd be way more than that. That's
You would think.
anyway,
But there's
maybe
also like
yeah.
different aspects, right? They have Oculus, they
Mhm.
have different aspects of their business
Okay.
and things like that.
True,
It's
true,
probably
true,
more
true,
than that, to
true.
be honest.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. So I guess when it comes to this, to this kind of launch model, it seems super valuable. If someone wanted to go out and do it on their own, I guess, like, what would you recommend that they start doing? How should they approach it? How should they think about it?
So for running their own ads, essentially.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Running their own ads and also like, creating the webinar and the
Mhm.
and the email sequences.
So if it's ads, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, do I understand them? Other than just going through your feed, do not, I repeat, do not run ads if you know nothing. You're throwing money into a fire for funsies. It's not the way to go about it. If you can't afford a course, there is more than enough valuable trainings you could find from like Facebook teaching you things, YouTube. Keeping in mind, Facebook's not going to teach you the correct strategies because they're not the ones running the ads. They'll teach you how to set it up. But I've had more times than I could count where I've had Facebook reps tell me the exact opposite thing you should be doing, like combining all ad sets. I'm not combining warm and lookalike and cold. That ain't happening. um, so make sure you understand them. So it's reasonable to expect that, like, you can't afford this when you start your business. That's okay. But you also it's going to cost you a lot more money per lead if you don't know what you're doing. So if you can't afford a course, at the very least, do your research. Don't just go in there and be like, "Oh, Facebook suggests this, I'm gonna do that. Facebook suggests this, I'm gonna do that." And then you accidentally put opposed to a lifetime budget, you put a daily budget for $1,000. That's not good. Those mistakes happen if you don't pay attention. So number 1, do not do a thing with ads until you truly think at the very least you have a beginner's understanding, as in you know the infrastructure and what that looks like. And then I guess when it comes to courses, that's a long-winded question. I even have my own course where it's secretly in the back end, haven't officially launched it live, where I teach them how to start their courses from scratch. To say get your foundations in place would be the biggest thing. Don't just decide this is my course. Who's your course? What's the feeling you invoke in them? Like if you don't create a feeling for someone, they're not going to purchase from you. They're going to go to the next person who creates a feeling. So getting all your foundations in place and setting up your course, my biggest tip for setting up the course, bite size. I have spent thousands of dollars on a course. I went in, every training was 2 hours, and there was no real structure. It was just like, take my money, I'm not coming back. Just because if it's not bite sized, I feel like it doesn't give people micro wins. It's this big commitment, and they're gonna build this huge stress in their mind that, oh, I've got to commit to this 2 hours, opposed to, oh, I just finished Holly's 15-minute training on this, 5-minute training on this, 30-minute training on this. Those micro wins make that difference. And it's easier for your filming, but it creates micro wins for those macro wins later.
Yeah, cool. Love it. Love it. Well, we've got to move towards wrapping up, but this
Yeah.
has been amazing. I guess, is there anything else that you'd love the listeners to know if they're launching their online course, or trying to scale their online course? Any kind of final, parting words of
Yeah.
wisdom, or yeah.
I think my biggest thing is the number one word I use in any business is intentional. What you're doing should be intentional. Don't
Mhm.
just throw spaghetti at the wall and hoping it sticks. Sometimes it will, but it's probably not sustainably going to stay there. So, being intentional with everything you do. If you create a course, make sure you're intentional. Do you know who your ideal client is? How are you serving them? And what way are you serving them with your ads? Be intentional. Don't just go in there, have a little fun, and boost a post. Boosting a post isn't your answer. Everything should be intentional when you're doing anything in your business. And if you haven't so far, that doesn't mean you can't be it now.
Yeah, totally. Love it. Love it. Well, Holly, I really, really appreciate you coming on.
Of
This was
course.
amazing. There's so much value here. Where can people find out more about you? How can they work with you? Yeah.
Yeah. So I finally am on the Instagram big game. I'm posting lots now. So please follow me. Give me a pity follow. It's Hollie, HOLLIEN company. That's my Instagram handle. My website is hollieandcompany.com. Any sort of questions you want, you're more than welcome. Send me a voice note if you enjoyed this podcast, and let's have a chat on Instagram or book a call.
Love it, guys. Well, follow Holly. Not a pity follow. Follow because you want to, because her content's amazing. Check out our website, sign up for her stuff, chat to her. Yeah, this was amazing. Holly, really, really appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks for having me.